Hey guys, it's Christine, also known as IvyWinter. Thank you for joining me for another Disney video. Today, this video is all about you guys. Well, it's about you and that you send me questions and I'm going to answer them. So this is a part one of a Disney planning Q&A video. I got so many awesome questions from all of you guys that I have to split them up into two videos. But thank you so much for sending me your questions. And this is something that I would love to continue to do. So if you have any questions that are a little bit shorter of an explanation, might need a shorter answer than having a full video, you can let me know in the comments below. You can also tweet me at IvyWinterYT. You can also let me know. I put a community post up. You can respond to that as well. I love helping you guys plan your trips and really want to be able to answer some more specific questions for you guys. So yeah, let's get started on this part one. If your question was not answered this week, I promise you it will be answered next week. I have all of them. I will not forget about you, I promise. The first question comes from Ian, who asks, can only one person of the trip have the photo pass option? So I found that obviously if you're traveling in a group, yes, that's totally fine. With the annual pass last year, I had the photo pass. All the photos were free, and I was able to pull photos from my friends who have been on rides with me, met characters with me who didn't have that option. So I was able to go in and download them and email them copies. I do also know that because Rob and I were connected as kind of family within that Disney, my Disney experience, that when he went on trips with his girlfriend that I wasn't on, and if I go through, I can actually see those photos as well and download them if I wanted to, which I don't. That'd be weird, but I could also see that as well. So I believe if you're all connected on My Disney Experience, you should be able to see all of their photos that are coming in as well. I don't know if that's always a given, but I know on my side, I have been able to see photos of friends who have just been connected with me from past trips. And if that's the case, then yes, you should be able to order photos, download them, what have you, for the time of your trip, even if that person went off and did their own thing. Don asks, can you still buy Disney dollars? Unfortunately, no. They discontinued Disney dollars, I believe it was May of 2016. You can still use them. If you have Disney dollars, they will accept them because they're trying to get them all back, basically, and you can use them for payments, but you can no longer buy Disney dollars. I know this was a really popular thing with families with kids. You'd buy them some Disney dollars and then they would go spend them. You can still do something like that with a gift card, so it's not like you don't have that option to budget in that way. I'm sure it's not as fun as having the actual printed money, but they did stop making that in 2016. If you do want to buy Disney dollars for any other reason than spending them at the parks, they are a bit expensive now. They're being sold on eBay and things like that, and people are jacking up the price because they are no longer made. So you will not be able to buy a Disney dollar one-to-one anymore, and unless you're a collector, I don't really think that it's worth it. So yeah, unfortunately not, but I do recommend doing a gift card if you want to give kids a way to pay or you just want another way to budget yourself. Jennifer asks me two questions. One is dining plan or no, why? I have never done the dining plan because personally for me, I've never needed it. But I also don't have a family, I'm not going with kids, and so it is possible that that will change down the line. But for me, I know how I eat throughout the day, I know how much I spend, I know that what they offer as an individual person is probably more than I'm ever gonna eat. And I know that when I've done the math, I actually spend less on my own than if I spent what they ask for per day for the dining plan. So I think it really depends on how big of an eater are you? How many people are you trying to feed? If you do have other people in your party that you can maybe pass off an extra snack thing to or whatever, that's cool. Obviously when I'm solo, I would never ever do it because if I have leftover food that I'm not gonna eat, I have no one else to use that snack thing for. But even when I've been with groups, I haven't done it. I was reading something more recently that's saying that it is not as financially viable as it used to be. It used to be a sure bet every time that if there was Disney dining, you should do it. If there's free Disney dining, then obviously do it. I've never gone during free Disney dining, but obviously I would capitalize on it because it's free. And then the second question from Jennifer is, what is the least number and most number of days you think it's best for a stay at Disney World? I've been doing 7 days each time. So I can tell you right now that the smallest trip I've done at Disney World, I think was 3 days. It was like a really, yes, it was 3 days. It was a very, very quick trip that I made with Keith Lappening. We decided last minute to go. We did a Friday to Sunday. We even did a not so scary Halloween party like that Friday night. It was really crazy. Like we flew out super early Friday, left super late on Sunday. And I mean, any trip is a great trip when you get to go, but obviously it felt very rushed. It was very short, and I wouldn't recommend it. I would say the absolute minimum amount of days, I used to say 4, but now I'll say 5. Just because you want to consider your travel time. I mean, even from New York, you know, I'm spending 2 hours on a flight and then at least another hour to get to my resort. Some people are flying even longer, and that's really cutting into your days. I think 5 days, especially 5 days in the parks, if you can do it, if you can like get to the parks on your travel days, is probably the best way to do it, because you're always going to want to do a little bit more extra time in some of the bigger parks. Like I think Magic Kingdom deserves more than a day. I think Epcot deserves more than a day. You know, Hollywood Studios right now might not. Animal Kingdom is now getting to be a day park because you've got Pandora, which takes some time to get through and like be able to go on those rides, but there's also like the nighttime experience and all of that. So I think 5 days, or let's say 4.5, you know, assuming you're flying out even like mid-afternoon the 5th day, is probably the minimum. Maximum number I've stayed was 8 or 9 days was January of last year. I'm actually forgetting now. I think it was 8. And I wondered if it would feel too long, and it didn't. I didn't want to go home. I felt like maybe by day 8 I'd be ready to go home. I didn't want to go home. So is 8 days the max? I don't know. That's the longest I've ever done. I can't imagine myself spending more than like maybe 10 days. But who knows? I mean, I might be saying that and then I could be one of those people who could stay down there a month. So I think maximum is a lot more flexible. It really depends on who you are, how much you love the parks, how much you can handle in so many days. This one comes from literally Disney World. The name was Disney World, so maybe Disney World's asking me questions about Disney World? That's really confusing. I've only visited Disney World once during Christmas time. It was absolutely beautiful, but the crowds were insane. Do you think it's worth going in the winter? So, yes and no. It depends when in the winter that is. Winter's a pretty long season. Really, it goes December to March. I don't know if it's worth it to go right in the middle of the holidays, if that's what you mean. That is the most crowded time of year to go, and I'm sure it's absolutely beautiful. I think if you want to go and experience the holiday stuff, go prior to Thanksgiving, or go the very beginning of January. You're not gonna have the Christmas party anymore, but they actually still have decorations a couple weeks into January. Like, they leave them up. It isn't like January 1st they just take them down like your neighbors do, you know? They actually keep decorations up, and so I would say beginning of January, few days after New Year's, because there's still trickle over of people from New Year's, is a good time to go where it's not so crowded, but you'll still get to enjoy the decorations. Another question from Ian. Must have fast passes for each park and water parks. I've never been in the water parks. If you listen to the podcast, you'll know this. In like, I don't know, 15 trips now, I've never been to the water parks. So I can't really say much there. But for fast passes per park, and I feel like this changes a lot as things have been opening, and it will change even more as new things open in Hollywood Studios. But as things stand right now, I think, and I'm gonna say 1 fast pass per every park that I think you need to get. Magic Kingdom is still 7 Dwarfs Mine Train. That is still crazy. I mean, it's still hard to get a fast pass for it. There's still long lines for it, and it's been how many years since it came out. So that is definitely your #1 for Magic Kingdom. Your #1 for Epcot, I would probably say, based on lines and popularity, Frozen. But my second would be Soarin', just because it's the newer Soarin', and you obviously want to get on there and see that new video. I feel like Epcot's really debatable. You know, it could go a lot of different ways, but I would say one of those two is definitely right now your must-have. Animal Kingdom, things have changed so much. I would say Everest, but now with Avatar, I'm gonna say Flight of Passage. that is your number one, it's gonna be a very hard fast pass to get. If you can't get it, then I also recommend getting Navi River Journey, because that also has a long line. It's just new, people wanna see it. Too many people haven't seen it yet, and so those lines are gonna get long. Navi River Journey is a very short ride. I waited 30 minutes for it at one point and that was fine, but I did see the line go up to like 2 hours. It is not worth that wait. So try to get a fast pass for that if you cannot get Flight of Passage. And for Hollywood Studios right now, I mean, things are gonna change wildly in a couple of years. But right now, I would actually probably say Star Tours. And I say that because they just added the new scene from episode 8. And so I have a feeling that's gonna bump up lines for a bit, and it's new. So I would say that. If that is not your jam, then I would say Rock and Roller Coaster, which still has long lines almost every time I go. Amy Linda asks, would you do Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party on a day by itself? If not, which park would you do before the party, or would you just make it a really long Magic Kingdom day? So I've done the party twice, and I'm pretty sure both days I did really long Magic Kingdom days. Why? Because it was just easier for me to bring a costume in a backpack. My costume wasn't like crazy, granted, so depends on what your costume is. You might want to go back to the hotel and change. But if your costume isn't super crazy and it's something you can easily bring with you, bring it with you, change in the bathroom like an hour or two before the party, and hang out. And what's nice is if you're already in the park, you can get your wristband pretty early. You don't have to like go at whatever time it is to like get your wristband. You can get it a couple hours before. Cast members will be around handing them out, and then you're good, you're in, you're done. You're avoiding the rush of people who are just going for the party and maybe are coming from another park. And you don't have to worry about that whole turnstile mess, because it will be a mess, and it always is. When it's time for the party, it is a mess at the turnstiles and at security, so why not just avoid that by getting there early? Last question comes from Jamie, and I believe this is in reference to my Hong Kong Disneyland trip coming up. He's asking, do you plan on using some form of translator, i.e. Ears to the World? So for those that don't know, Ears to the World is a translator that Disney puts out for their parks, specifically for shows and things like that, that you can have with you when you go to the international parks, so you can understand what's happening. I have done a lot of research, obviously, on Hong Kong Disneyland, and I've learned that a majority of rides in general are in English, and that even a lot of shows are a mix of English and Mandarin. I'm not concerned about not knowing what's happening in the Mandarin pieces. I think it's more interesting to just hear the language as it is, and even though I don't understand it, it's like when I watch foreign movies. I'd rather subtitles than have someone dubbed over speaking in English, because I want to hear the nuances, the emotion, whatever of the actor. Even if I'm reading in English, I can get what they're, you know, trying to say through their emotions and their actions, and not just have some weird gaudy English like dub over. Same sort of thing. I want to have the experience with them actually speaking Mandarin. I want to kind of see what that's all like and kind of, I don't know, embrace that. So I probably won't use any sort of translator when I'm down there, but I do think it's super cool that they have an option like that. It makes traveling to the other parks around the world a lot easier, I think. So that's it, guys. That's my Disney planning Q&A for today. Again, if you asked me a question and I did not answer it this time, I promise you I will answer it next week. If you have a question that you didn't ask me, then why didn't you ask me? Leave it in the comments below. You can also tweet me at IvyWinterYT. You can DM me. You can send me a private message on YouTube. You can send me a message on the IvyWinter Facebook page. I mean, any of those avenues will work. Just don't try to like stalk me and find my number and text me. That might be creepy. But other than that, ask me your questions. I really enjoyed doing this video, and I would love to do more and make it a regular thing. Thank you for watching another Disney video. If you like this video, then you should like it. If you like me, then you should subscribe. I try to put out videos 2 to 3 times a week. I've been plugging my Hong Kong Disneyland trip in January. I know it's a bit away, 36 days as of filming this, so not too far away. And we'll be vlogging that if you want to see something different. We'll also be back down in Disney World with Rob at the end of January and be vlogging that. So we have a lot of cool trip vlogs coming up. There also might be an annual pass again in my future. So if that's the case, expect a lot more vlogs next year again, so you're definitely gonna wanna subscribe for that. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Thank you for the questions, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.